All right, we're running a little bit, late, so let's call the meeting to order at 6:33. Any adjustments to the agenda?
No adjustments.
I would accept a motion to approve the minutes of October 7th and 14th.
I make a motion we approve the minutes of October 7th and 14th. Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Abstained? I have nothing. Mr. Eastman,
Yes, a number of things. Thank you. The summer speech and debate team had an excellent time at Bangor High School on October 25th for their first full-on competition called the Paul Bunyan Classic Speech and Debate Tournament. Summer students Emily Green, Lily Lopez, Quinn Bay, Kyle Wildman, and Rachel West, as well as Reese Bryant, took part. Special congratulations are due to the following competitors. Lily Lopez, who was the top novice in congressional debate, placing 3rd overall. On the strength of Lily's performance alone, Sumner took home 3rd place in Congress Suites. Emily Green, who broke past prelims in the highly competitive event of novice prose reading, ranked 5th overall. And Rachel West, who went 2 for 4 in the novice Lincoln Douglas debate, finishing 5th overall. We also had some exciting developments in terms of our team's progress in the National Forensic League, the National Speech and Debate Association's Honor Society. Quinn Bay, Emily Green, and Lily Lopez are the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th competitors on the team to earn membership in the NFL, attaining their degrees of merit. Rachel West and Quinn Bay have also both reached the NFL's 2nd ranking, the degree of honor, the first members of our team to do so in an impressive feat for novices so early on in the season. A huge thank you goes out to summer teacher Nikki Willett for giving up her Saturday and meeting up with the team in judging, a volunteer judge, I should say. Next up is the Bonfire Bash, which will take place at Mount Blue High School in Farmington on November 15th, and we certainly wish that team the best of luck. At the recent MSMA, Maine School Management Association's conference, one of our own was recognized for 12 years of service, and so I have the certificate here with me and offer my congratulations and thanks to our Eastbrook representative member, Jen Chardon, for her commitment to the students of RSU24. An after-school program update. Our after-school programs are off to a great start this year and are now fully staffed. The site coordinators for each program are as follows. Cape Hill is Cassie McVeigh, Mountain View Tammy Peary, Sumner Lexi Tracy, Ella Lewis, Regina Smith, and Peninsula is shared by Kristen Lowry and Donna Dolongoskis. Currently, approximately 197 students are enrolled, and we anticipate this number will continue to grow over the next few months. Across the district, about 60 staff members have joined our after-school teams to support these programs. Programs offering focus on STEM, safety, cooking and nutrition, visual and performing arts, physical activity, and cultural and multicultural enrichment. And so that translates into the clubs, which are Millen High School cooking clubs, speech and debate clubs, crochet, sports, weightlifting, theater, art, makerspace, karaoke, gaming, among other things. Each day, students participate in homework help, tutoring, recess, healthy snacks, and a variety of enrichment activities designed to foster learning, creativity, and engagement. And so just yesterday, we received our program evaluation from the Maine Department of Education. And for the Peninsula School and the Ella Lewis School programs, and they're on one grant, both schools are in their first year of the current grant. This is what the DOE had to say. During the 2024-2025 grant cycle, the program met 90% of its proposed targets for year 1 of the 21st Century Grant. Programs at this level have demonstrated high levels of success in meeting the goals and objectives outlined within their grant application. Those involved in the development and delivery of this local 21 program should be proud of their work and its impact within the local community. While most program targets were met this year, there is always an opportunity for growth, and they asked them to please check out the recommendations. And then for the other grant, which involves Cave Hill, Mountain View, and Sumner, which is in its 3rd year, the DOA had this to say. Over the course of the 2024-2025 grant cycle, the program was able to meet 82% of the proposed targets in year 3 of the grant. Programs at this level have largely demonstrated a satisfactory level of performance. Those involved in the design and delivery of this program should be proud of their work and the positive impact the program is having on the school community, and also gave some recommendations recommendations for some work. We are fortunate to be able to offer such a wonderful program for after-school programming, and I do offer my thanks to Program Director Kristen McFarland. Also, Principal Haley Fenton in the Ella Lewis School was awarded a $900 grant by the Literacy Fund at the Maine Community Foundation to help host an author. The author visit will be for the whole school, pre-K through 5. The author is yet to be determined, but they are considering a local author who is also a fiber artist. In addition, the Maine Department of Education's Early Learning Team recently offered a new professional learning opportunity for early childhood educators called the Mainly Play Lab. The Mainly Play Lab focused on developmentally appropriate, play-based strategies that spark curiosity, align with Maine's learning standards, and foster joyful, rigorous classrooms. We were pleased to send our pre-K through 5 principals and early childhood teachers from each of the schools to attend this valuable professional learning experience. Our teams came away with new ideas and tools to strengthen their classrooms and programs, using developmentally appropriate approaches to learning. Our schools also came away with a minimum of $5,000 to $7,000 each to cover the cost of attending, and will spend the remaining funds, which will go toward approved materials to create play-based centers that will connect to our reading curriculum themes in pre-K, kindergarten, and first grade. Congratulations to Coach Joy and the girls soccer team who finished the season 13-2, an impressive record for sure. We hosted a playoff game against Katahdin High School last Tuesday, and after completing the regulation game in 2 overtimes, the girls lost on penalty kicks. Although a heartbreaking loss, the team certainly has nothing to hang their heads about. The winter coaching roster for the season that's upcoming here for middle school, we do have a vacant position for cheering if anybody's interested. Boys basketball A team is Victor Jakes, B team is Adam Brackett, girls basketball A team David Allen, girls basketball B team Hannah Shorey, volleyball A team is Donna Dolongaskis, and we do have a higher pending for the volleyball B team, which is middle school. And for high school varsity indoor track, Adam Lord, assistant indoor track Carter Patterson, head cheering Kayla Johnson, boys varsity basketball is Dylan Harmon, boys JV basketball is Zach McGraw, and varsity girls is Andrea Alley, and then JV girls is Curtis Alley. Also, I just wanted to report out that the Superintendent Evaluation Tool Ad Hoc Committee has a meeting scheduled for next Wednesday, November 12th at 4:30, and we'll be working on a revision of the tool for my evaluation. And you also should have in your board packet a letter that I sent along to the Hancock County District Attorney regarding support for enforcing the truancy laws, as well as some data items that we will talk about at some future meeting. But certainly, Ramon is here, the audience here. Ramon did a great deal of work to put together the data pieces that you have. The top one that I have is the attendance summary report, which is basically, it's the red and black one, and it's got attendance for each of our schools per grade, and that percentage that you see there is figured by the number of kids in attendance divided by the number of kids who are enrolled. And that is a figure that plays into our work with the DOE for some of our grants. In addition, you have a chronic absenteeism report, which is the number of students per school per grade as well. Those are the number of students who have missed 10% or more of school days for any reason. Keep in mind that those numbers will fluctuate throughout the school year, and it's certainly something that DOE takes care of. And then the last one that I would point your attention to is the Infinite Campus behavior data. That does take into consideration the last 3 school years, including this one, and it's broken down between the 2 schools. And I'm not going to go down through each one, but I will point out, as you can see there, the Sumner Middle School in 23-24 had 122 events, and that was to that date, this date in October 31st. And this year has 21. So that's really is quite an improvement. Well done job by the middle school. And with that, that's my report.
Thank you, Mr. Eastman. Next item on the agenda is public comment. Do you know if we have anybody signed up? Tina Porter from Waltham, you're up.
I'm Tina Porter from Waltham. I just wanted to say thank you guys all for being here. You guys take a lot of time out of your busy schedules to be here for the kids, and so I know that it's not easy. So sometimes when we come up and speak, that we may seem like we're targeting you or not, we're just speaking from our hearts. Second of all, I had this prayer that I wanted to say for you guys at the last meeting, but I needed to cut out a lot of things to get under my 3 minutes. Hindsight, I shouldn't have cut it out, so I just wanted to read it to you. Dear God, as we gather here today, we humbly seek your guidance and wisdom. Grant us clarity of thought and understanding as we embark on this meeting. Help us to make decisions that align with your will and bring about positive outcomes. In Jesus' name, amen. And then I just wanted to congratulate Cave Hill School for being on the best elementary schools in Maine on US News. So, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next item on the agenda, business. Item number 1, NIAS presentation, Shelley Sheldrath and Amy Watson.
I will just clarify, I made a mistake by adding Shelley's name. It is Amy Watson that will be presenting. Thank you.
You'll have to forgive the stapling. You might have to flip and turn the pages a little bit. One thing I'll just mention before we begin is if you hold on a moment, I'll get to a point in my discussion where I reference these and we can sort of flip through those together. That might be easier. Okay, so thank you for taking the time to hear me talk about NIASC with you. So this is a process, an evaluation, accreditation process that Sumner Memorial High School goes through every 10 years, and we are now looping back around in the evaluation cycle. And I'm going to just explain a little bit about that to you, give you some information, tell you about our timeline, and answer any questions. So first of all, NIASC stands for, it's the New England Association of Schools and Colleges. It's a globally recognized leader in accreditation and school improvement. So why is this important to us? Accreditation is important because, one, it ensures that our schools provide quality education to our students. It validates that our credits and diplomas are recognized by other institutions, such as higher education, the military. It facilitates credit transfers, and it requires us as a school to maintain high standards for continuous school improvement, teaching and learning, which is the heart of what we do. It's based on standards, and the standards for accreditation promote our effective learning organization. It makes sure that we are meeting the needs of all of our students through a continuous reflection process. And the purpose of this is to emphasize, like I mentioned, our accountability for growth and improvement over time. That's why it's on a 10-year cycle. It engages surrounding schools from beyond our district as partners in school improvement. So what happens in the visits where NIASC comes to us and visits our school, they visit us a couple of times in the cycle. Teachers from the state of Maine and even beyond come and sit on the panels while we're doing our self-reflection process, which is called our collaborative conference, and then our decennial conference, which is our culminating process that determines if we continue with our ongoing accreditation. What's really nice about this is that it also gives us as a school an opportunity to go and collaborate with other schools as they're going through this process as well. So far on our teaching staff this year, on our faculty, in the past couple of years, 3 of us have now sat on other schools' NEAS panels. I've gone to a decennial. Russell Haygood, one of the teachers who is a member of our NEAS team, has gone to a collaborative conference this year, and then Whitney Crabtree will be going really soon to, I can't remember now if it's a collaborative conference or a decennial, but it's one of the others. This provides us with some wonderful professional development as well as supporting these other schools, and it allows us to do better work at ours. So the reflection process, that's the stage we're in right now in the NEAS process. We are currently taking this opportunity right now to determine to what extent our school meets the principles of effective practice based on our standards, NEAS standards. And our team is now gathering evidence and information, and we're just beginning our cycle of working with the staff to prepare for our collaborative conference next fall. So now, here's where we could go to the handout. So when you open up your handout, you'll see the 5 overarching standards that we work with. So I'm not going to, I'll read these to you, but on the next page there's a little more information. It's this one. Like I said, it's a little weird in the way you flip the pages. My apologies. So the 5 overarching standards are student learning, learning culture, learning resources, learning support, and professional practices. And then this is where I won't read it all to you, but if you flip over to the NEAS standards for accreditation, that's where you can get a little more detail about those standards. So the standards are broken down into principles, and there are pages and pages of that for, as you go through each standard. But the principles define the growth targets of each standard, and it is our job as a school to reflect on and report our progress in aligning with the principles for each standard. So if you flip the next page, it just gives you a little more information about the principles and the descriptors that go with that. And then you get to the foundational elements. And those are, within each standard, there's a foundational element. And our goal is to measure how well we align with the foundational elements. And if we are not well aligned with them, these are places where we set our goals and we work towards growth and improvement within our schools. One thing that I really appreciate about what I've learned about the NEAS process so far is it is a growth model, and that's a wonderful thing. I don't know if there's anyone in this space who has been involved in the NEAS process before, but I think it's a lot different from how it used to be. It's still an audit, but it used to be a much more extensive audit, and maybe not as centered around that growth and improvement as it is now. So I won't read the foundational elements to you either. You have those there for your information. But I will move into the cycle of our protocol. I gave you a nice round visual, but if you flip the page to the back side, you'll see just a linear timeline. And that's the one I'll share with you. So last spring, we began with our accreditation seminar. That's where the smaller NEAS team, we sat in on a training session for the work we were about to do. And then this fall, our liaison came to the school and onboarded the full staff with the work. We are now, like I said, in our reflection process. This is where we work with the standards. We gather evidence of what we're doing as a school. We rate ourselves. Are we meeting the standards, and how well are we meeting them? And then from there, we determine what our areas of growth are. In the fall, we'll host our collaborative conference. We will be presenting our reflection to the guests that come to our school. They will come to our building, they'll visit with students, they'll talk with teachers, they'll also talk with perhaps community or board stakeholders, and then they will give us sort of either a stamp of approval, like here, that this looks good, and keep going on your growth and development until the decennial, or they might even add some things for us to consider and look at as we move forward. In 2027, between the 2027 winter and spring and 2028 winter and spring, we'll be working on our improvement and growth plan. And we'll be writing our summary report in preparation for the decennial culminating visit, which will happen in the fall of 2028. And then from there, we update our growth plan. The collaborative conference is where the next panel comes to hear about our growth and improvement, and then give us our ongoing accreditation. And after that, we revise our growth plan, and then we, in 2029, we begin just working on it and continuing to grow. And we'll give some progress reports along the way in 2031. 2034, and then in 2035, our cycle begins again. I think a couple of things just to know before I conclude is that the NEAS process, when it does have a budgetary implication to it when we host our guests for the collaborative conference and the decennial visits. That is something that we do for the people who come to work with us. So I just wanted to make sure that you guys knew that that was part of the process. And now I certainly will answer any questions if you have any right now.
Doesn't look like anybody has any
All
questions.
right, thank you very much.
Thank you, Amy. All right, item number 2, Ed Programming Committee report. Kate?
Our Ed Programming Committee met on the 14th of October at the DSF. We called to order at 5:30 p.m. We had a really great presentation for our kindergarten team. We had the Ella Lewis School, Peninsula, and Keith Hill kindergarten teachers come and talk to us about the developmentally appropriate approach to learning, utilizing play-based learning. Overall, the presentations were insightful on the benefit of this approach to not just the students, but to the teachers. The teachers reported feeling more engaged themselves, but they're also seeing their students more engaged in their learning. They're seeing students bring in learning outcomes to play organically, and that's strengthening their understanding. Teachers are also reporting that this hands-on learning is more engaging than technology, and we're pretty happy with the changes that we made to taking a lot of technology out of kindergarten. Some of the play-based learning benefits that the teachers presented on were supporting social and emotional development, building executive functioning, enhancing language and communication, fostering cognitive and academic growth, encourages imagination and creativity, increases motivation and engagement, and one of the problems that one of the teachers brought forward is that a lot of times people don't see play as real learning, and I have a lot to say about that, but ultimately play is the best work of childhood. Children learn concepts faster through play, it gives them buy-in to learning, and by doing the developmentally appropriate thing in these classrooms, we're fostering a love for learning for these students. That is what we should do, and I want to note that hands-on learning, such as handwriting and other play-based activities, develop more neural pathways, and they lead to a deeper understanding of what is being taught than compared to learning via a computer screen or typing activities. So what we have approved is research-based best practice for learning, and I was very excited about that. And I did have a little excerpt because it was mentioned about the play lab, so I can't wait to hear an overview of that at our next Ed programming meeting. We also had a PBIS update. Discussions on how the district is keeping all teachers up to date on the information, with summer trainings that they held, new teacher trainings, and handbooks on PBIS overall. And also, Whitney was asked to present at the PBIS conference, which was exciting because it was interesting that our schools are incorporating students into our approach, and they're hoping that they can get more districts to do that. We also discussed some concerns about bus behavior and how overall they've decreased from last year, and some strategies that are being utilized to continue to decrease these concerns. And we discussed updating the middle school tech papers, and we adjourned at 6:30 p.m. that evening. And our next meeting date, I guess, is to be determined for December.
Thank you very much, Katie. Anybody, any questions or anything? All right. Moving along, Personnel Committee report. That's me. We met this evening at 6 o'clock. First item on our agenda was a discussion about adding a stipend for Title IX decision makers. We have had, for a long time now, we have had Title IX coordinators and Title IX investigators that are responsible for staff, one group for staff and one group for student reported violations. After the fall conference, it was discovered that there has been a push to have Title IX decision makers that are separate from the coordinators and investigators, so that you don't have the same person performing two roles. Obviously, that necessitates us bringing two more people into the loop. Currently, Chris Alvarado is the coordinator for staff incidents. Chris Beals is the coordinator for student incidents. The building administrators, the principals, are the investigators for behaviors within their buildings, be it staff or students. But obviously that means that we couldn't use, the principals couldn't be their own decision makers. So we have, Mike has suggested Haley Gommel from Ella Lewis as one of the decision makers, obviously for incidents outside of Ella Lewis, and that Shelley Shildroth would be the other investigator. Obviously, she'd cover Ella Lewis and then help the decision maker, and help Haley cover the other schools as well. Now, that necessitates a stipend, and the recommended stipend was $750 for each of them. That is not currently in our budget. That position is not specifically outlined in our budget. The monies, we think the money's there in the business budget. Moving forward, it will be a budgeted position. So the committee approved the creation of those positions at a $750 stipend. Second item on the agenda was the discussion of stipends for the NEASC staff leaders or team leaders, if you will, that will be coordinating the lion's share of that work among their colleagues. That is not a standing stipended position because obviously it lasts for 2 or 3 years. But there will be 3 positions for that, each of which will get a $2,000 stipend. The committee approved that. Yeah, that's already budgeted for. The third thing on our agenda was the hiring update. And I don't know, for those of you that have been here for a while, that's the hiring update. We have right now, the first time I can actually read this and feel like I'm not just wasting a lot of time, we have an opening in adult ed for an ed tech 3 position for a program assistant. We have 4 applicants for the position, and I believe Amber felt confident she may have a candidate. Is that accurate? We have an open position in Cave Hill for a part-time interventionist. We have an applicant for that. I don't know the standing. Sumner Middle School, a special ed teacher. There are 0 applicants for that. Special ed administrative assistant, 3 applicants. And from what I understand, one of those seems like a promising candidate. We have, bus monitor. We have 3 openings for bus monitors. And we have hired a van driver. So we have, in all of this district, 4 open positions that don't at least have promising candidate. From last year or 2 years ago, that is shockingly low. And that wraps it up. We will be meeting again on December 2nd. And that's it for personnel. Moving on. Board member mileage and conference costs. And this was requested by Katie. So Katie, I'll let you lead the way.
Sure. So I just wrote a little blurb here. As a school board, our primary goal is always student success, and that success is ultimately reflected in our students' learning outcomes. With that in mind, I believe we should ensure that every dollar in our budget, to the best of our ability, supports this direct mission. For the 24-25 school year, we budgeted a little over $1,200 for board member mileage reimbursement, but none of those funds were used. Given that, I think that it makes sense to eliminate this line item moving forward. It's a simple, responsible adjustment that keeps our focus and our resources where they belong, on the students. And that brings me to our next item, our board member conferences and professional development. While I appreciate the intent behind increasing this budget line, the allocation for conferences rose by more than 300% this year. Last year, only 2 members expressed interest in attending, yet we budgeted for 5 participants this year. In my view, those funds could be better spent elsewhere in the school budget. However, I'm also open to compromise, and I would support capping the professional development and conference budget to cover the cost of 2 members, the delegate and our alternate delegate. The same cap could apply to travel mileage, and we could calculate it based on travel mileage is a separate line item, just for anyone who wasn't aware. And calculate that based on the cost for the 2 farthest members to attend conference, which would be a safe bet that it would cover all costs. This approach maintains opportunities for board representation and growth while keeping our fiscal priorities aligned with student-centered outcomes. And if we, as the budget committee, wanted to get everybody's input before we actually made a decision on this, so that's why we're having this discussion right now.
All right, so to echo what Katie finished with, the board doesn't need to make a decision on this. Ultimately, this is part of the budget development process, but the Finance and Budget Committee requested board input on this so that when they go into the budget development process this winter, they will know how to proceed in this regard. So I'm opening the floor to comments. What do people think? Are they happy with Katie's suggestion that we cap the fall conference, is essentially what we're talking about, at 2 attendees, and that eliminate mileage completely? Meeting mileage. And eliminate meeting mileage completely. Those are her proposals, so I'm opening it to comments, questions, thoughts, ideas, but.
Michael, what happens to the money that's not used?
Just carry forward, money. Carla, yeah, go ahead.
I would just be curious to know who on the board hasn't been that would like to go to the conference next year.
Are you raising your hand saying you'd like to go, or are you asking whether you could speak?
I'd be interested in going next year.
Okay, well, Jen, go ahead.
What do you mean by if a board member hasn't attended but would like to go? I attend just about every year, so, and I am on the board.
Terry?
Yeah, I'd like to go. If I'm still a board member next year. I think it's incredibly important for school board members to congregate with other school board members from other districts. I can't imagine a more important education for the school board than attending some of these meetings. I don't think this is money wasted at all, but probably very, very well spent.
But would you be willing to cap it at 2 of our members, considering we haven't had more than 2 go?
Well, if we cap it, then only 2 are gonna go. If we don't cap it, my suspicion is more than 2 might go. But since the money gets returned to the school budget, if it's not spent, I don't see that this is wasted money at all. I mean, it goes right back into the kitty.
Mary, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, if you cap it at just the delegate and the alternate, then if the chair wanted to go, you're also stopping the chair from going. And I know like this year, they had a pre-conference workshop specifically for board chairs. I've gone twice and I always find something new, and from not being in the education department, not having that's my background, it's been really beneficial for me. So I would worry about capping it. I think I would probably pay for it out of my own pocket if I had to, but I don't think everyone would be able to do that. So I'd like to keep it equitable.
Anybody else? Okay, go ahead, Stephen, I don't want to cut anybody off, sorry.
I feel like there's no harm in budgeting for maybe like a couple more people than 2, and even if they like don't end up going, it'll just come back to the school.
Maybe we can clarify what is the carryover fund used for.
Jerry was applied to next year's budget.
Yeah, the carry forward would be applied to the next budget, not specifically back to that line, but to the entire budget as part of the process.
Go ahead, Mercy.
I also worry if we cap it and there is someone that wants to go and can't afford it, they won't go because 2 people have already been chosen.
I guess, also, I guess I get what everybody feels about conference, but if we're not using mileage, is everybody okay with eliminating that line item?
I'm looking at this right now, and am I correct in saying that this year, so far, there's been $195.08 used in mileage? Is that?
I would say that's under 24, 25.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And I'm reading that nothing's been used for this purpose.
Usually they don't usually do it in the year.
Okay, so you guys have the paperwork in front of you, so for the 23-24 fiscal year, there were $421.58 requested and paid out for mileage, and last year, $195.08. Somebody would wait.
I'm happy with not being reimbursed the mileage for board meetings. I'm fine with that.
Any other comments?
Yeah, I just wanted to say, I would have gone to the School Board Association meeting this year, except I turned 80 years old the end of October, and my presence was demanded by my family down in Massachusetts, so I was unable to attend, but otherwise I would have very much liked to have gone.
I think the mileage cutting it is fine.
I'm gonna say my piece with regard to mileage. I opposed mileage when this RSU was created and this issue was first brought before the board. However, on reflection, that's easy enough for me to say. I live 12 miles from here. And we have other board representatives that travel a considerably longer distance than that to get here for meetings. And I think it would be, I think it would be pretty inconsiderate of me to say that just because I don't have to travel very far, nobody else should get reimbursed for their travel time and the cost of that travel. And also, I don't think that it would be fair for me to put some of those people who might have travel distance on the spot where they felt like they had to defend their request to be reimbursed for having to drive a great distance to be at these meetings. It sounds flippant to say this, for the pittance that $1,270 is in a $26 million budget. I can't see where that's anything other than a little bit of window dressing, getting rid of that. And you want to reduce it to 500 or 600 because we're only using that? Okay, but I think it would be a mistake to get rid of it. Even if we don't now have anyone who's claiming it, and there might be somebody in the future who claims it. Maybe somebody lives down at the end of number 7 or something and wants to get reimbursed to having to drive all that distance. Just because you don't care about being reimbursed doesn't mean that your successor might not. And it doesn't mean that my successor might not. And I think that there is a legitimate reason why this was put on here. I mean, there is, and I'm with Carl. I've never submitted a mileage request, and I'm fine with not being reimbursed for it. But it's not about me, it's about the other people. So that's my 2 cents worth. At this point, if anybody else has any other comments, I'll take them. Aside from that, I would like to let's just have a straw poll of people who would, we'll have a straw poll. We'll start with the fall conference. Please raise your hand if you would like to keep it as it is in this year's budget.
Do you mean for 5 members?
Yep, as it is in this year's budget, okay. And those that are opposed to that or would rather see something, a different figure. All right, okay, now for mileage. Those that would rather keep it at its current amount or perhaps consider reducing it somewhat, but still keep the...
Do you mind if I just say one thing? At the end of last year, when we were doing the budget, nobody had claimed it up to June, so it just hadn't been claimed at all. And we increased the mileage. I know it's not that much. I understand that $1,200 is nothing in the grand scheme of things, but that almost does cover the 2 new stipends that we just created. So while I understand that it doesn't seem like a lot, it is, being conscious of every penny we spend, I think, is important.
I would just like to say that I don't think anybody on here has really been submitting mileage, but usually when we have people whose terms are up or who are not going to come back and try to be on the board again, it's pulling teeth to try to get somebody to sit at this table. And so some people who maybe would be willing to sit at this table really might depend on that mileage, or maybe they would do it because you do get a little something for it. And at the end of the day, we're not making millions up here. It's really more a volunteer position, so I'm reluctant to take away the mileage off the table because I want people who want to be at this table to be here, and I don't want anything to hinder that.
Did anybody know offhand what the mileage figure is? Is it like 50 cents a mile? I'm sorry? 57, so 57 cents a mile. And I might as well just throw out there for the people that will ultimately watch this video that aren't sitting here, that we get $25 a meeting for this, and that's the same figure that we got when this board was formed in 2009. So for those people that think that there's a lot of reimbursement going into these positions, for the people out there that think that, those are the facts of the matter. That we're getting $25 a meeting, and last year, $195 was spent in mileage, and about $1,300 spent in what I would consider professional development for board members by attending the fall conference. So I consider those administrative costs to be pretty negligible compared to the responsibilities that are required of the people that sit at this table. In any case, I think, I never did get the straw poll on mileage. Who wants to keep mileage? Well, I think there's information out there to go back to budget and finance, and you have board input when the budget time comes to move ahead with your decision-making process. Next item on the agenda is the consideration of doing the Pledge of Allegiance at board meetings. This was brought to you by Mary, so Mary, I'll let you take it.
Thank you. So I attended the school board conference and we started it off with the Pledge of Allegiance, and maybe I'm just patriotically cheesy, but I really enjoyed it, and I know my town, the town of Goldsboro, does that before every selectmen meeting as well, so I wanted to get the input of the board on if you were open to doing the Pledge of Allegiance, or in the past, I haven't been on the board for that long, so I didn't know if there was a reason we didn't do it, or how everybody felt about it. So I'd like to hold the board for that.
Yep, so once again, we'll open it up for comment. She's suggesting that we open our meetings with the Pledge of Allegiance. So, yeah, thoughts?
So when I first read it on the agenda, I was kind of like thrown off by it, but the more I thought about it, our students start their day with the Pledge of Allegiance, so maybe we should consider it.
I agree. Same.
Anyone? Jerry, Jen, Ashley, Sadie, thoughts?
I am patriotic, but I don't understand the necessity of doing the Pledge of Allegiance before this meeting. I attend a lot of meetings during the day, and not once do I do the Pledge of Allegiance. So if a little bit more background as to why this meeting would have the Pledge of Allegiance.
I do believe it's in our employee handbook for the students to start the day with the pledge. And again, our selectmen meeting also begins with the pledge, and I think if we're requiring our students to do it, it would be a good example for us to set to also follow that same rule.
Go ahead.
As long as we realize that there is the First Amendment, and if someone does not want to stand and do the Pledge of Allegiance, it's accepted.
Those are the same criteria that students fall under as well. Students are, all right, someone's going to correct me if I misspeak, but students have the option to abstain from the Pledge of Allegiance if they so choose. So that would obviously apply here as well. Terry, thought?
I was just looking for the oath in my notebook here that we took to become a school board member. It is, as I recall, that we vow or affirm that we will support the United States Constitution and the state of Maine Constitution. I'm not sure what it proves that we swear allegiance to the flag of the United States. It seems to me it's an act of public patriotism that should be assumed is the very reason we sit here. And to have to make a pledge of allegiance before we have every meeting strikes me as being an act of public braggadocio, kind of a statement that so everybody will know that we are patriotic American citizens. I might point out that many of the children, or some of them anyway, who do swear allegiance to the to the flag of the United States and to the republic for which it stands are not citizens of this country. But they're made to swear allegiance to a country that is dubious about their status as citizens or as members of this community. So this does bring up a number of issues that I think in all conscience, good conscience, we might address. I might point out also that it's in the good book somewhere that you should do your good deeds in secret and not in public. That you should say your prayers in secret. And this strikes me as being, could be viewed as a statement that goes above and beyond what we are called upon to do as citizens or as board members. I'm perfectly willing to do it, but I think that it does raise questions as to the motivations as to why we do it. I'm not even sure why we make children say it in public school. Granted, again, many of you know I didn't attend public school as a student, except in kindergarten and first grade. I did manage the saying of it when I taught school down in Massachusetts. So I think it raises some questions. I'm not sure I have any answers at all.
Anyone else? I guess I would respond to part of what you bring up there in saying that there may be a host of issues that surround the saying of the Pledge of Allegiance, but we do require the recitation of the Pledge of Allegiance in all of our schools every day. And look, I mean, I've said it my entire life, and I at one time stood up and took an oath to defend the Constitution of this country, up and including my life if need be at one point. I don't have any problem saying the Pledge of Allegiance. And if we're going to require students to do it, I can't see why we should not do it, if I'm honest about it. I understand that there are a host of issues around it. I think those are issues that can be discussed in another forum, but those are my feelings, I guess, at this point. We've had discussion, we brought it up, we've had discussion. There's been no motion upon which to take action unless anybody wishes to make a motion to take action.
I make a motion that we start saying the pledge before our board meetings.
Second.
We have a motion, we have a second. Do we have any further discussion on this issue before we vote?
I would just like to say that I am not very big on rules for thee and not for me, so again, I feel as though if we're making students do it, then we should set an example and do it as well.
Any other discussion? Okay, all those in favor? No, I'll give you opposed, if there are any opposed. And abstentions. Okay. Well, I don't think we need to wait for the count when it's apparent that the motion carries. So from now on, we will be reciting the pledge at the beginning of board meetings. Next item on the agenda is a board review of meeting. So let's start with Carla tonight.
Thank you so much for your presentation. I'm actually very interested to learn more information regarding the New England Association of schools and colleges. I've never heard of it. So thank you for bringing it to our attention, and thank you for everyone that is here in attendance this evening, and thank you to all the board members and Michael Eastman as well for the dedication that we all put forth for the district. Thank you.
Thank you to everybody. Mr. Eastman, you went on a big old spiel, and I could not write down all the names of all the awesome things and the people that did that. So just ditto on what he said. It's been awesome. Thank you so much, Amy. And then who was the person that put together the truancy? It was a lot of data to pull. Thank you so much. That is a lot of work. I appreciate it. I appreciate all of you and what you do for our students and our communities. And just keep up the work.
Katie?
I tried to keep up, but I know I missed a bunch. So I just want to say congrats to our speech and debate team. I did not get all the members' names, but they're rocking it, and that's awesome. I also wanted to say thank you, Jen, for 12 years, if I'm not misquoting, years of service on the board. And congratulations to our after-school program and all of our schools that got to participate in the Play Lab experience. And I'm super excited again to hear a recap of that at our next Ed programming meeting. Congrats to our soccer team and Coach Joy on a great season. And thank you, Tina, for bringing to our attention that Cave Hill was made one of the best schools in Maine. That's awesome. And then I also had thank you, Ramona, for the truancy information that was very well detailed, and Amy for presenting our NEASC presentation. I think that covers it.
Save it.
Thank you, Mrs. Watson, for the presentation, and I think the speech and debate team is really cool. I remember they were talking about it last year, and I'm glad that they actually did it. And thank you for the truancy data, and I guess that's it.
I'm good. Just want to say thank you to Jen for her years on the board. Also, Katie, thank you for such a good update to the Ed community meeting. It was a really great meeting. Thank you, and wonderful and great update. I also want to thank you for all the time you put in outside of meetings in regards to research, the budget conversation. I thought was really great. Just thank you for taking that time.
Jen?
I'm good.
Jared?
Regarding play, I just wanted to say that it's funny that the word play is a 4-letter word, which are some of my favorites because they're easy to spell. But we learn to play instruments. We learn to play games like chess. It's a term that often people think it's just fooling around, when in fact, when we put on a play, we memorize lines, we get to assume characters. It's incredibly important to our development as adult human beings. We don't do enough of it as human beings, adults. I also wanted to say that I found the pledge that we all took, or at least I took in Sorrento. I presume we all did in each town. And this is what I swore to. I, Newbold Noyes, do swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and of this state so long as I shall continue to be a citizen thereof, so help me God. I do swear that I will faithfully discharge to the best of my ability the duties incumbent upon me as a school board member, Sorrento, according to the Constitution and to the laws of this state, so help me God. So that's what we all swore to before we even joined this board.
And I guess that leaves me. I want to say, with regard to the speech and debate team, I think those two skills are more overlooked than they ought to be in our general curriculum. I think the ability to formulate your thoughts, to create an argument, to hear, actually not listen to, but actually hear and process someone else's argument and prepare a counter argument requires a thought process that is not always all that common, and it is a skill that should be developed and practiced. And the ability to stand, there have been countless studies done where people have asked, where it has been asked of people, what is your greatest fear? And public speaking is always in the top 3 of those. So developing the ability to stand in front of a group of people and speak your mind, say what you need to say, while conquering that fear is invaluable, not because someday you may have to sit in a school board meeting and talk in front of 100 people, but because you may someday in your job have to stand in front of a board of directors and present your proposal for your new project, or you may have to try to convince a group of people that your ideas are the best way to proceed in your line of work. There are any number of cases where someone's career path may be determined by their ability to stand in public and address people and to field arguments from other people and adequately debate those. And so I think it's fantastic that we have this speech and debate team at Sumner. I hope it continues to grow. I hope many students avail themselves of the opportunity to develop those skills, because they are critical, in many cases, they are critical to success in any avenue of life. So I will wrap my thoughts up with that. You have the list of future meetings in front of you. Again, as always, I'm not reading them, you can. Item 6 on the agenda is an executive session. If anyone would care to make that motion.
Make a motion that we go into executive session pursuant to NRSA Title 1, Section 456E for the purpose of consultation between RSU and an attorney. Second.
All those in favor? Okay, you guys can stay if you want to, because we're going to be moving next door. Adjourn the meeting.
I make a motion we adjourn.
Seconded.
All those in favor? Okay, we're adjourned.